in deferred maintenance costs that are going to have to be addressed in some term over a long-term plan to maintain those facilities and to get them back into standards. And that's a challenging project because they aren't visible. But clearly they're going to be an implication to keep those learning environments everything they need to be. To the earlier point, declining enrollment. It's a statewide phenomenon. It's not unusual right now. And the impact on smaller districts are more significant than on larger districts. When the high school gets down to several hundred people instead of a couple thousand, makes it more challenging to offer that robust array of programs, makes it more challenging to have cohorts large enough to sustain some of the opportunities you'd want to. That being said, it doesn't affect your funding as it does in others, but it clearly can affect your social engagement, teacher collaboration, group activities. The ripple effect of declining enrollment is going to continue. And we don't identify solutions in our report, although we heard people mention things like the role of interdistrict transfers, some supportive, some not so supportive, the need to attract and maintain those already within your attendance boundaries that may be making other choices. And what do you do to market and attract and serve those families so that they see St. Helena as the jewel and the first choice for education in your community. Unified vision and strategic plan. Despite the priorities and programs, we did hear a number of times people talk about a lack of a unifying vision. I won't say lack of a need for a unifying and coherent plan to move the district forward. People had a sense of what was going on, but they also had a hard time articulating exactly what that united vision was. We did hear people within departments and between schools in the district and even departments within the district talking a bit about silos, feeling a bit isolated, maybe not as unified. And they had a deep desire to have a more cohesive, unified approach in the work. And then finally, across the board, and certainly from the Board of Education, but also from your stakeholders, the recognition that the Latinx families are some of the hardest to reach, and that they need to strengthen those connections and outreach to engage those families in meaningful ways, and obviously with the goal of closing the achievement gap and improving the performance of your students who come to school with a second language. Questions or clarifications on the district challenges and opportunities?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so, Gary. Everybody's shaking their head in case you can't see us all. But
I can't very clearly, so thank you. Thank you. Let's move into, I've just said we're on a unicorn hunt, finding our superintendent. So how will we recognize that unicorn when we come across him or her? The introductory paragraph or the sentences kind of capture the big ideas. They're really looking for an authentic superintendent who has an adaptable style. Specifically, they want somebody who is approachable, responsive, visible. We heard those words over and over again. And then we got some details that came out that kind of put some more information into that description. Can wear many hats. Actually, I won't read to you. I'll let you read yourself. But basically, someone who is accessible, who leads by example, someone who asks good questions and uses relationships as a means to an end. And the end is to make needed changes and to improve services to students. We heard from your community. They think the district is the community convener. And they really want the superintendent to bring those diverse groups together in the community who serve youth, and the superintendent will be the face of the district. Then we heard about consistency is great, but we don't want to become complacent. We want to continue to be looking at continuous improvement, the best way to serve our students. I'll let you take a minute. Any questions or clarifications on the characteristics on this page?
I had one question. Do you
Yes.
have any thoughts on when you had feedback about willing to make a long-term commitment to the district? What does a long-term commitment look like? Is that more than 5 years?
I think is that on that wasn't on this slide, right?
But it's on the design. Oh, sorry. I thought it was on.
I think it's on the next. I think it might be on the.
Oh, okay. Apologies.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
any other questions on this slide? Let's move. I think it's on the next one.
Got it.
Okay, then moving on. There we are, willing to make a long-term commitment to the organization.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I've shared with the board before that the average superintendent tenure is shockingly short in California. It's 3 years, just over 3 years. Now that, of course, is not desirable. You want a superintendent to commit to longer. We believe that when we've shared with the superintendents, when we say a long-term commitment, we're talking 5 years or more. That all depends on the age of the candidate, the extent to which they're successful in the district, and the relationship forged is a positive and productive one. But we look at 5 years as a minimum, and would expect a superintendent who would make a move here to make an initial commitment of at least 5 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions on this page?
Trustees, no? No, everybody seems to be shaking their head no, so.
Well, you've all had a chance to review it, so that's good to know. Thank you. So let's get into the survey, the online survey. That's a robust response for a group your age. I was pretty pleased with 253. We're greedy. We want it to be 100%, but that's pretty good. And you can see that it's representative of a variety of different stakeholders. I love that we got 34 students in there, and we got a couple to our focus group as well. Mm-hmm. So what did they tell us? So what expertise and experience do they believe is critically important? First and foremost was understanding the school and community culture. That came out even above skilled and expertise in teaching and learning. I think that's recognition when we get back to size around the notion that this is a community where you can know us. It's large enough we can get to know each other, and we have an expectation this person will learn our culture, become involved in both the school culture and the community. An expert and can lead teaching and learning initiatives. Again, back to the community, someone who has a good ability to bring together community relations. And then I'll let you read those rankings as they move on. Fiscal board governance, site principal experience, labor negotiations, and facilities management. How about the top 5? Leadership? Someone who creates an atmosphere of trust. When we addressed earlier the notion of that compelling or noble shared vision, I think trust is like a prerequisite to having the conversation about what matters most, and I think that's reflected in this survey. A forward thinker, new ideas, present and visible throughout the district and community, knowledge about teaching and learning, and able to effectively navigate political or controversial issues would be the top 5 rankings in terms of leadership.
Gary, can I stop and ask you a question, or would you like to continue?
Oh, you absolutely at any point.
Okay,
please.
I would like to get your interpretation and perspective on the community relations that on the scale of importance, because it's a high, it's 75.1%. Do you think from your perspective, is that literally with a greater St. Helena community? Does it mean our parent community within our schools? I'm just trying to understand what that really comes down to.
You know what? I'd say all of the above. I don't know that I can parse it out.
Okay.
I think what's critical in that is it probably relates very closely to the first bullet. And that is the expectation that this person is not remote or distant or a figurehead, but is actively engaged, actively seeking out those relationships, promoting those relationships. And we also heard voiced, maybe to the first point, the need for someone to really get to know us before they bring changes. We've worked hard. You've worked very hard to implement a lot of programs and services that are great for students. And before somebody comes in with their latest idea, to make sure they take time to have deep understanding of what's working already and what people see are the needs to change. Because your folks are not, they have hopes, dreams too about moving forward. And I think that someone who comes in and takes the time to get to know the community will be able to lead those initiatives.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And in your experience, when you say someone comes to the community and takes some time to observe before he or she makes changes or does whatever, what is a healthy amount of time in your experience?
Well, as long as you can possibly do it. The reality is there will be real decisions that need to be made in timely ways. And as one would hope that I would say the first 30 to 90 days is spent on kind of a listening and learning tour. And any huge decisions that absolutely have to be made within there will need to be made, but hopefully they can be held back a bit. But most often when I see candidates submit a plan, it's usually a 90 to 100-day plan that is taking listening to learn, but it never really ends. I mean, that's just to come in, establish trust, let people see that you're someone who's listening and caring. But obviously that aspect continues throughout your career, hopefully.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, I think you're okay to move on.
Okay. I'll let you take a minute and glance over these. It's very much, we just actually talked through those a minute ago. Any questions on any of these?
Yeah, I just actually was curious if any of these, and I forget what slide's next. I'm trying not to jump ahead on my laptop, but if any of them surprised you based on what you heard from in-person sessions, like if anything just felt.
That's an interesting question. You know, it was very reinforcing. I think I share with the board, the greatest fear you have when you do these is that every room you walk into sound like they're describing a different organization. We heard themes and trends very early on. It didn't matter if we were talking to your city administrator or a teacher in the district or someone in a classified employee in the tech division. We heard themes and trends very early on. And when we got the results of the survey, for me, they reinforced what we were hearing. So I can't say there were any big surprises. The board has received the individual comments and people included at the end, contributions folks made. Those will not be, we assured them that those comments would be confidential because in some case they might be identifying. In there's some interesting perspectives and ideas. I don't know that they were so surprising, but they certainly represented a wider range of opinions, including some opinions that might be minority opinions, but still worthy to know and understand. I will say this, that it was refreshing to see effectively navigate political or controversial issues. Only 50%, just under 50% indicated that was a priority. We're seeing that trending very high in a lot of districts where there is a lot of conflict around ideologies right now. So for me, that said you're navigating it pretty well already. People want to continue it, but it didn't rise to the top of priorities.
Anybody else? Okay, you can carry on, Gary.
Here we go. Personal attributes. I always call this a brave, clean, and reverent file. Honest and ethical? Gosh, I hope so. That'll be a goal. Problem solver, approachable, exceptional communicator, and inclusive. And by that, we define inclusive as seeks broad input from all stakeholders. We're the top 5 rankings for personal attributes. Again, I saw this as being very reinforcing of what we heard both in our focus groups as well as in the survey. Any questions or comments on this?
No.
Okay. Then we kind of zoomed out. And instead of talking about the candidate, we asked them to kind of rate the district. How are they feeling about the district in general? Students receive a high quality education that prepares them for life. I think that's the main job. 94% of your community feels as though the district, they either agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. That's a good number. School safety is a high priority. With 88%, and adequate resources are provided. People recognize the blessing of the good basic aid funding and understand that they are enjoying benefits that other communities don't necessarily have, and the importance of make sure those are directed in ways that really advance the welfare of kids. So those are the top 3 district favorable conditions, which I thought were, again, strong. positive. That takes us to the end. Those are the big numbers and the big ideas. Board, you also have a 5-page document. This will be a public, the leadership profile narrative that you receive will be a public document that will be posted on your website and will be shared with candidates. And so my question, I'm trying to stop the share. There, did it. Okay. I just wanted to take a minute and find out from you if there are any questions you have, any edits or revisions, or is the board okay to accept the leadership profile moving forward?
Thank you. Ms. Madrigal, do I need to ask for public comment? Yes. Do we have any submitted public comment? Okay, and for the record, we have no one present in the room, so there was no one here to give public comment in person. So with that, trustees, questions for Dr. Rutherford, clarifying anything you would like to discuss at this time as a board?
I had a couple items that I had discussed with Suzette offline that she asked that I just share through here because
Okay.
the draft had already been published. So I don't know what's easier. On page 2 in the superintendent profile, hold on, let me make sure this is all.
The desired superintendent characteristics?
No, I'm
no.
not there yet, sorry. In the physical stability section.
Yes, gotcha. I'm
So
with you.
we call out the St. Helena Public School Foundation for external funding, and we have several foundations or groups like Saints Athletic Association, FFA. We have the Give Big Committee and parent groups, and I just wondered if we needed to be generic or
No.
list them all. I just felt like it might only be calling out one, and I don't know if this matters, but I don't want someone's feelings hurt.
Correct. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and to that point, but even though the reason why that's probably in there is because they then disperse the funds to every parent group, but it is a collective effort. So I understand what you're saying there. And then of course we have something like the Athletic Association and FFA,
Right.
the boosters and performing arts boosters for that matter as well, would be, I would say those are our three, I would say the next significant level of
I agree.
of groups, right? I mean, I apologize if we're overlooking somebody, but I'd say it's the foundation, it's the individual school site parent groups, and then those three boosters.
So in regard to Trustee Mora's comment, would it be better to not, with the concern of exclusion by omission, if we just reference the generous community with a variety of nonprofits that serve students and not reference and not name a group?
That would be my preference. And actually, one other thing just came to mind, and I'm thinking about our senior scholarship night.
Scholarships,
I
exactly.
mean, that was $400,000 this year, and that represents dozens of community members and organizations near and far. So I think it would be better served that we did a generic labeling of all those generous groups.
Very happy to make that edit. Board, is there consensus around that? And President Pelosi, maybe you can let me know. Are we getting 5 nods on that? Or
Do we have
discussion?
consensus on that, everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
I have one,
Oh,
one remark.
yeah. Trustee Simon has one question.
Yes.
Okay, so since this is going to be going out to prospective superintendents, would it make sense in the fiscal stability paragraph to list all of those to help them get a broader understanding of the way that the district is supported so they understand their role with all of those communities, the nonprofit?
Sure.
So that
Oh,
they're
that's
walking
true.
into it with all of
This
that.
is marketing.
Because it is marketing, and it gives them an idea of like, this is what hands-on means. We have boosters that he
Right.
or she needs to pay attention to. We've got foundation, we have scholarship funds.
And we just saw that community relations was 75% of, so in that respect. So Dr. Rutherford, how do you feel about that if we actually do list them by name for that exact reason that Trustee Simon?
I think that if a board would help me in making that list, I'd be very
Okay.
happy to make the list. What I heard was some concerns that no matter how hard you work on that, there could be an omission. And so but I would leave that up to the board. We're quite happy. I think either way would communicate
Okay.
well, and certainly communicating with candidates aside from the leadership profile is another way that information can be shared.
So Gary, in your experience, what would be better marketing? What would make more sense?
It really is a fielder's choice on this one. If the board feels as though they can give me a list that has all the players that would expect to be listed, I'd be very happy to incorporate those. I think either one, no candidate is going to come St. Helena who does their homework, who isn't going to know those and learn those. And we can certainly in the interview process probe that a bit. I think it really just falls to if the board feels as though they can do an adequate job of describing those groups, and let's list them. Let's include them.
Okay. Okay, I think we can, we could probably come up with that.
Well, do you
That'd be
agree
great.
that
Maybe
you
share them with
listed?
Erica and offline so you have a chance to think about that, and then Erica could shoot them over to me.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we're going down a slippery slope trying to make sure we include everybody. And I think we could, I just don't want to offend somebody that we leave them off, or someone that's a potential donor down the road. Maybe we could categorize them like, we receive support from community vineyard companies, management companies, from service support groups, from maybe we could list and kind of generalize, boosters to various programs. But I kind of agree with Gary. I don't think someone maybe from Poughkeepsie is going to know what the such and such group would be. I just don't want to leave somebody out.
They're going to see that we have good physical status.
Right. And maybe generalize the categories from which our funding comes from.
I think I can, if a wide array of, generous community donors, I can craft a sentence that I think captures that this is a generous community. And I think that's the main idea you want to communicate.
I think that is the main idea we want to communicate.
Thank you. Yeah.
Rather than just exclusively listing one, I think let's change it to a wide bandwidth that encompasses the many that do support our schools.
We can definitely craft something.
Okay.
I think we'll capture that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Sean. Was there another one as well?
One of the things that I was thinking of is under robust programs and learning environment. I don't see when I was reading that, the thing that I thought of was with that how robust our FFA is and our ag program and things too. And I'm wondering if that should be included.
Let's add that. Your FFA and ag program, is there a consensus you'd like to add that to our?
Well, I think you're gonna just CTE. Then you have to.
CTE pathways, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think we can. I mean, because in all, if we're going to flex here a little bit for St. Helena, the FFA program is indeed one of the top in the country. So it should be mentioned. But we also have many CTE pathways that students now have access to. So maybe could it be, the FFA and CTE pathways?
I would be happy with that. Yes, I like the CTE pathways.
Okay.
Future Farmers of America, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'll spell that out.
Okay.
And maybe Career Tech Ed as well. Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
There consensus on that from the board?
Yeah.
To make that revision?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sean, you're good with that? Yes. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I'm just looking at some of
Okay,
my notes.
that's okay.
Sorry.
Wait, hold on, we're just taking one moment to pause here to make sure
Yep.
all our questions are answered.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think I'm good as well. Jean Marie? Okay.
I think my other comment, sorry, I'm trying to figure out where it fits between the PowerPoint and the Word doc, which is I'm now on. What I had written down, and I don't know where it fits, but when I looked through the desired superintendent characteristics on page 3,
Yes.
So it talks about using PLCs and student data, but I guess what I don't feel like it specifically calls out is one of the things that we consistently talk about with our, you know, our voting and our choices is, you know, driving student achievement for all. So that's probably just like our vision, and it doesn't belong as a superintendent characteristic. So I don't know, does that just fit within the driving deeper work of PLCs using student data?
It could absolutely fit, as it, you know, makes that a priority or keeps the main thing the main thing. That comment, Sean, would be something we absolutely did here. And so I wouldn't have a problem inserting that as a characteristics, and that's just driving high achievement for all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a nice bullet to add. If the board agrees, I'll be happy to insert something on that.
I think we have heads shaking and thumbs up for that.
I can't hear your heads rattling from here, but I believe they are.
Well, that's good. That means they're filled with thinking brains.
That's perfect.
Also, I was wondering, and again, it's probably in there, but you know, I also believe a superintendent needs to be proactive versus reactive. And I know we have one able to make decisions and take calculated risks, which is okay. But that's, I think being proactive is different than making decisions and taking calculated risks, in my opinion. I agree. So
I agree as well.
okay, I have a couple of head nodders up here on that.
Hey,
Yes.
That's a yes. So maybe a proactive versus reactive leadership,
yep, that works.
and decision making and leadership.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good. That's a good call.
All right. Anything else, trustees?
Gary, can you touch
Okay.
on
Yeah.
the characteristic supports consistency without complacency? What were some of the comments that you heard that?
That led to that.
Yeah.
People, it was a bit of a conflicting viewpoint people shared. There were those people that talked about the value of the stability and the consistency, particularly in the instructional programs. And they said, but while we value that, we understand we need to change and grow as the world changes and grows. So we want to maintain our stability, consistency, but not at the cost of complacency. We want to be forward-looking and build on what we're doing already, and not settle for being consistent and stable.
Raising the bar, like high expectations lead to high achievement, right? Or that's in theory, I realize, but I mean, I think it's that kind of making sure that all staff is not just that they're always kind of reaching for the next level, you know.
Could we add that to that bullet? Like you said, raising the bar. I mean, it kind of speaks to what Sean just spoke about. I had to ask the question,
Right,
supports
yeah.
consistency and without complacency, comma, just how can someone interpret that bullet point, right, you know, within the bullet point? Yeah.
Like in continuous improvement or something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, continuous improvement certainly sounds like an educational characteristic that you would,
That's part of the model PLC school, I think.
yeah,
And it is.
yeah.
Yes.
I can absolutely add a
Okay.
phrase
Thank
to
you.
that to clarify.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. While you're thinking of those last thoughts, let me take a minute and thank you very much for allowing us to come into your community to get to know some really great people. I still have a couple more conversations, and maybe even have a friend or two that when I get out there, I will meet throughout the process. You work with some wonderful people. I really can't get off this call without acknowledging Erica Madrigal as being an incredible convener and scheduler and arranger. Our time was so efficient. We were not only our time was well spent. She fed us and cared for us, and even told us where to go have dinner. And so, thank you, Erica, for all your help. You made what could have been a very complicated task much more enjoyable and much more meaningful. So, thank you.
Thank
Well,
you. It was my pleasure.
And you know she's the Executive Assistant of the Year, right? I'm going to give her another plug. For the Association of Napa County Schools Administrators, Miss Erica Madrigal was the Executive Assistant of the Year. So,
Yes.
Well deserved. I will nominate her for the decade. A year isn't enough.
yeah. Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad that it was a positive experience, Gary. That is
Yes, it
always
was.
reassuring. And while I think we wish we could have broken 500, on hearing from more, but, timing is also probably a factor at the time of year that this all happened as well. So,
No question about it. But we had a good, diverse array of responses that kind of copped a little bit of everybody, and appreciate all your principals and others who really put the full court press on to get responses. So thank you.
okay, thank you.
And I just want to, I want
Yes.
to actually thank them as well, because I've heard numerous really good comments, and really thank you for all the work that you've done. Everyone was very complimentary,
very
and
nice.
you have your profession being professional and friendly, and just your demeanor in general. So thank you to both of you.
Well, that's very not kind of you to say. I will pass that on to Dr. Lovely as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, trustees, before we let Dr. Rutherford? Okay. Well, thank you very much. I know we'll be talking to you soon. So again, we
Absolutely.
appreciate you. Stay cool. Stay cool out there. Hydrate. And
We'll be seeing you soon. Our application, we're getting responses. I think we have a half dozen applicants so far. It's very early.
okay.
We're open through the month of July. So people listening at home, an outstanding candidate, have them go on to edjoin.org, edjoin.org, and take a look at this opportunity, and our contact information's on there as well. So thank you, board.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Okay. Thank you, trustees, for that conversation. Okay, so now we're going to go into closed session, and but before we head into closed session, again, I would ask for a public comment, but we do not have anybody present. And have we received any? We have not received. So at this point, we will go into closed session and then reconvene to close out the meeting. Thank you. Good evening. We are reconvening to open session. The time is 7:20 p.m. In connection with item 6A, the board participated in a discussion and provided staff with direction. We're going to go on to item 8A, is consideration of approval for the revision to the Director, Community Liaison, and Community Engagement job description. Mr. Heller, please.
All right, good evening. Tonight, the district is proposing a Director of Community Liaison and Community Engagement position revision. This position has been identified for parent outreach and engagement in various aspects in the district, from college and career assistance to workshops and events that need advertising and connection for parents and communities to community to attend. This position would support much of the work in our LCAP goal number 3, which supports parent and community engagement overtly. The district has had 2 previous employees serve in a social worker capacity, and we were unable to attract candidates when the last position was posted a month ago. So in thinking about the revision to this job description, the district staff took some of the elements that were included in the social worker job position, and those that did not require a social worker certificate or credential that fit under the community liaison position, we moved over. There are 10 bullets that are listed in the job description tonight that are listed in red. And so we've included that to make a little bit more of a robust job description to support this director position. Our principals really strongly support this need for parent and community engagement, and felt that, kind of given the timing with the social worker position, that it was important that we have this position in place for the 24-25 school year. And that's why this position was brought forth tonight for the board to consider approving. If approved, we will begin working on a job posting that will last through July, with interviews to be conducted at the end of the July so the employee can begin right on time in August. So I would ask the governing board to consider approving.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. Did we receive any public comment, Ms. Madrigal? Okay. And there, again, is no one present with us this evening, so there is no one to make public comment. So, trustees, questions about this agenda item?
Mr. Heller?
Yes.
So I'm looking at position description and, hold on, I'm sorry, I just lost my place. Okay, looking at education and experience.
Yes.
The position requires the equivalent of a high school diploma and 3 years of experience working with students in an instructional or social service setting. Candidates who possess a BA are highly preferred. Can you describe what highly preferred means and what your confidence in hiring someone with background in?
Yeah, sure. That's a
education?
great question. Thanks for asking. So let's just say in a candidate pool, we have 10 candidates and 6 of those possess a BA. What that does is moves those 6 candidates to the top of the positioning, and we would interview those 6 candidates first. And if we have a successful candidate out of that, then we would move them forward. If we did not have a successful candidate out of the top 6, the high school or equivalent allows us to consider interviewing the other 4 candidates if the top 6 were not successful. So it gives us a little flexibility. Obviously, having the preferred status moves those candidates to the top of the order as far as our considerations for interviews. We did post this position a while ago, I believe 3 months ago in March, and we had a pretty strong pool. I was actually very pleased with the pool that we had with candidates that did possess a BA and some job skills that were related to social work or a strong foundation in the St. Helena community. So I feel really strongly that we'll be able to attract a candidate that meets the criteria of a BA and having some background in this work, given this posting.
And what will be their support once, if we're not requiring social work credentialing, but what will the support look like for this new employee to support them? I mean, we have a lot of responsibilities, and it is a newer position. So how will they be guided and supported to be as successful as possible?
Yeah, the position will be evaluated by the superintendent, who will have the oversight. I heard earlier tonight that it's important to have that community connection, so I imagine this would be a right-hand person for the superintendent to conduct their community outreach. It is under the direct supervision of the Director of Educational Services, which will do day-to-day operations of where that employee is needed and provide that support and guidance. And I imagine there will be a triangulation between the three parties, between the director and the Director of Ed Services and the superintendent, to kind of present a vision of what the community outreach and what those opportunities look like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said he or she will be under the direct responsibility of the Director of Educational Services.
Day-to-day operations, but evaluated by the superintendent.
So will the director then, I assume, will participate in the interview process, and she will be working directly with her? What does that look like? Yeah. Especially since we have our interim superintendent right now, and this person will be working closely with he or she as well. I guess my second part of my question is, would it make sense to hire this employee after the superintendent? Why doing it right now?
The why doing it right now is based on timing to start the school year off right away with this employee instead of having them onboarded when school has started. There's a real significant need for the district to have McKinney-Vento homeless applications completed at the beginning of the school year, so families are afforded those services right away. And in the past, having a social worker allowed that opportunity, and we've kind of missed the mark a little bit last year without having somebody as a point person. So I think we've asked the sites to conduct that, but at the beginning of the year, it's pretty busy in the offices, and I think having a point person to facilitate these types of requests for McKinney-Vento is going to be very helpful for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to share with the other trustees, my concern was actually also around the job, the educational background. So if in the past, this person or this role played a large part in, college readiness or preparedness, and at the TK through 12, I know that's it's one of the job bullets in there. So I guess I felt like it was pretty important to have someone that attended college going to speaking to parents and students about the importance of college, because otherwise it might feel a little, well, you didn't, which might also be a great story. But Chris and I spoke to that, and the question was answered in terms of that would push the candidates to the top. But I feel fairly strongly that someone that's involved in a college readiness and college culture type of role should have attended college themselves. So if we need this approved without that revision for now, I guess I just wanted to share that, because should we need to approve this position again when we're up here, I would probably want that to be, I would look for that to be added. Unless we can't hire by removing it. Sorry. If we have to remove it to hire, then I understand. And then so this community liaison position was a part-time position, went to full-time because we added in the social work and wellness center, but now we're pulling out wellness center, correct?
That is correct.
And the social work, but it still requires full-time?
We are proposing full-time, yes. Mostly because in a staggered day where we have needs in the evening for not only parent outreach to attend evening events, but also things that might occur on the weekends, this director position offers flexibility for those, the successful candidate, to be able to flex their schedule a little bit to attend the night things that we will ask them to attend. And we'll make sure that they understand that in a final round interview between myself and Dr. Vang.
And I also had shared that I wondered if we could wait, since this person is going to be reporting to the superintendent, wait for that person to be hired, or to have the interim be part of the process. But, you know, again, that has nothing to do with this job description. It was more of just a timing. But because, you know, it'd be nice to have someone own the person that, or interview the person that will be reporting to them. And then I think that was it in terms of the job description areas. I did have to ask, just so you guys know, when someone had talked about homeschool networks, I wondered if this was like COVID homeschool network leftover, and it's not. It's just about, you probably already know this, but it was more just about communication between the home and the school. So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't a carryover, because we created the job posting in COVID, I think I heard. And I think that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think my only addition, I know it says, excuse me, under abilities, must have the ability to speak and write effectively. Is it possible to put something a little stronger, like must possess strong public and interpersonal skill? I feel like this job, if they're going out and meeting and greeting and working with all these people, I think like you need really strong communication skills, and whether you're planning an event or talking to the mayor or talking to a parent. And maybe I'm kind of late to the party, but I could see kind of something, you know, more of a strong communication skill or something.
I think that while it says it seems very simplistic there, I think that was what we're looking for during the interview process, is somebody who's able to come in. We do a task. So a task would be to write something, and then during the interview, we're looking for somebody that is very engaging, outgoing, will represent our district in a positive way, and be able to communicate, articulate their thoughts in a manner that, you know, is outgoing, like I said, and engaging. So, yeah, I think that will shine through.
And my second question was, where will this person be located?
We are working on that right now. Office space is at a premium, so we want them to work closely with the Director of Ed Services. So we're looking at options.
Your question made me, is the interview going to be in English and Spanish? To ensure fluency. I guess, will someone be doing an interview in Spanish to ensure fluency?
We usually conduct our interviews all in English, but we can create a task that verifies the Spanish as well. Sure.
If that's the community that this person is supposed to be focusing on, as it's mentioned in here, I would want to make sure that's validated.
Sí, me voy.
Does it say though somewhere like
Must be by,
preferred
it does.
Spanish?
So I'm going to just chime in and say one of the big pushes for my support and trust in this position is given all the feedback we just received from our surveys and our leadership profile that came in, and one of the challenges is engagement with our Latinx families, and a lot of survey comments revolved around, I actually numbered them. There are close to, we didn't get a lot, but there are close to 40 some odd comments that speak to bilingual support. And so I feel like we are remiss in having a person in this district that is truly bilingual, that can serve our parents and students. You know, I'm happy that the social worker aspect has come out of this. I'm happy that wellness has come out of this, because I think those are all different. And while the timing is probably not ideal, I do think that it's urgent. And we do need to start. And I know we have a new Director of Ed Services, but perhaps this is an opportunity to grow and work and learn together and build this from the ground up, and help just get this engagement that we really desperately need. So that's where I stand on it as that's my initial comments.
You know, I'd like to agree with that in the sense of where it's in. And I agree, especially with just how many times we saw it in the survey results. And I also, for me, it's gonna we have to do something. We cannot do anything. We cannot do nothing. We have to do this. We have to do something, because we need that position. We really need this position right now. And I know that our site leaders are asking for it as well. So That's why I'm in support of this as well. My question would be, are we so those applicants that had their name in the past, they'll be part of the process?
Yes. So if approved, we would, when we post this position, we reach out to each of those applicants that applied and ask if they are still interested in the position, and if they are, we just move their joint application over to active into this role. So they have the opportunity just to declare, and they wouldn't have to reapply.
Okay.
Excuse me. I also would support Trustee Mora's comment about whether it's just a simple task in writing or a role-playing scenario with this applicant and a parent, how to make sure the fluency is there, that it's accurate for our community.
Because it sounds like there's a couple levels of the interview process. Is that correct?
There is. Yeah, there's
and communication and okay.
Is this a year contract? I'm curious about the
it's
hiring contract.
It's not a contract. It would just be hiring an employee that would continue in service and follow the classified management track, I guess.
Okay.
So it would require March 15th notice if that employee was not. Yeah.
Okay,
So
got it. Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that question. I am feeling uncomfortable hiring right now when we're looking at declining enrollment. But again, it's this position and it's really important. So, but I guess I just wanted to share that I have struggled with the director level, the pay level, and hiring an admin at this point in time when our budget does show us in the red over the next 3 years. And I know it can change at any moment with property tax, but I feel very uncomfortable with it for those reasons.
I agree. It's a position we really could use. I think it would be great for our school, but I think I agree a little bit in just looking at the salary. It looks like this person would start above some of our teachers who have a bachelor's degree, yet we're requiring someone that has a high school diploma. I think that's conflicting for me. Will that be an issue that we're hiring someone in without a college education at a pay raise greater than teachers that have a college education?
Although, as he said, though candidates with a bachelor degree would be the candidates that would rise to, I suppose that is a conversation. If we get to that point and perhaps we don't approve that employment agreement because that person doesn't have a college education, if that's what the board then votes on. But I think the goal is to hire somebody with a bachelor's degree. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm certainly not an HR person, but the way, you're trying to not narrow your hiring field too small by saying bachelor's degree only or above. Is that correct?
That would be correct. And so these director jobs all require a particular level of certifications or qualifications, or in some cases a bachelor's, but not in all cases. We have a director that does not have a bachelor's, but has the skill set based on certifications achieved to work in that particular field. So I would be... we don't typically hire a first-year teacher, so I don't think we're going to have that competition between certificated and classified. So that has not brought that issue forward. But that the salary schedule, which is in front of you, is a negotiated item every 3 years with classified management, and so we're aligning this to be commiserate with the director of food services in many ways, a school year employee, and so the compensation would be similar to that range for the days served. So I think it's overall, I think we've had a couple conversations. If you start looking at hourly rate of employees at $30, $35, $40 an hour annually, that's almost $80,000 a year roughly. So I don't feel like this is too far out of line as far as a director goes, especially if they enter at step 1 for the work that they're going to be asked to do not only during the day but at odd hours on weekends, at events, or at night. So I think it's appropriate.
Because the base is 90. The step 1 is 93,980.
If approved,
Okay.
at
If
the
approved.
next item.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And you have it at that amount for their first year because you want to stay competitive with some of our other director. Was that the reason?
Correct.
The
But
reason
I think
behind
that might be
specific
asked in
number?
the next item.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put a pin in that.
So we'll stick on the job description at the moment. Are there any more questions or comments or about the job description? Okay. Can I ask for a motion? Then just are you guys, unless you want a little more time?
Actually, so I know this is being silly now, but in the abilities, going back to must have the ability to speak and write effectively in English and Spanish. I don't know if we can make that change and still approve a job.
Well, in the knowledge and skills, they must be bilingual, and it indicates in Spanish, so
But
that
it
would be.
doesn't speak to writing, because I do think that I would imagine that writing effectively in Spanish would also be a requirement for translations and approving what we come up with for content, or just sending emails. So I don't know if that's overkill, but
I'm comfortable with the job description as presented.
Okay. Okay, board, anything else? No? Okay, so I'm going to just throw it out there. And is there a motion to approve the revised job description for the Director, Community Liaison, and Community Engagement as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 9A is review and consider approval of a position and funding plan for a director, community liaison, and community engagement. Dr. Vang, please. Or yes, yes. Okay.
Thank you, President Pelosi. So this is the funding plan for the position for the job description that was just approved. And if you take a look at the plan, as we had discussed earlier, the base salary is that $93,000, and in the funding in the plan, what I've included is not only the step 1 salary but benefits, and I've estimated this at a higher cost with the family plan to give you all a better idea of how much this could potentially cost for an employee that may come with a family coverage. So and if that's not the case, then the cost would be lower and there would be a cost savings to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any public comment, and we don't have anybody online. Do we, Ms. Madrigal? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
Excuse me. Can you tell me about why you came up with $1,200 for the car allow for this position? What am I looking?
That's B.
I'm sorry. Wait, what am I? That's car allow.
The car allowance is consistent with other positions or the related position in food services, thinking that this employee will be driving to different events during school day and in the evening. If you extrapolate that out a little bit at $1,200 divided by, well, I guess it wouldn't be 12 months, but it would be 10 months. That's about $120 a month in gas, and thinking about driving here and there, during that entire month. It's better for us to provide a stipend than to do mileage reimbursement at 67 cents and deal with all the forms that come in and process those so we just give a flat allowance for the driving to events.
So you envision them at the different campuses during the daytime?
During the daytime, and then driving to wherever events in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And just doing payroll, it adds up quickly. The mileage adds up really quickly. So it's actually this is probably beneficial to the district, this amount, rather than paying out each time that they are driving. Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions, trustees? I know, as always, I know I totally understand everybody's mindset on the finances. I know, because we're faced with so many other things. I think we just have to know that this is benefiting a lot of our students. And wages, the one thing that is becoming more and more noticeable to me as I live in this community is you got to make money. I mean, and these are competitive salaries. I think that those are, and as much as it's hard for me to always swallow that, I realize that if we're going to hopefully retain the talent, pull in and retain the talent that we want, that a competitive salary helps to do that. I know it's not a winning formula every single time, but I'd like to believe that it helps in securing the right candidate. I mean, and thank you for the lesson on the car allowance, because it was something that I was thinking about. It just seems like a big number when all our schools are less than a mile from each other, but we realize there are other events, and and it could stretch in the valley, or things that they attend on behalf of the district, to benefit our families. So I'm willing to, to also accept that. Just my question on that is, how is that actually monitored by the direct supervisor, knowing that this person would be actually utilizing that car allowance to go to the various places? Is it just kind of assumed that that's what's happening? I'm just curious. I don't know how that works.
You will find this on the certificated management as well, so
Okay.
it's not monitored.
Okay.
It's just an assumption that there will be no requests for mileage reimbursement,
Okay.
and that if you're asked to drive somewhere, that you will be there.
Okay,
right?
great. All right, thank you. And
No, I do look forward to this position and the good work that this person will do in this position. I also look forward to the reports, or the time that this employee can spend during our regular board meetings. I hope to hear from them, include some data, perhaps surveys that they can give with the families that they work with, just to keep us updated on the progress and how the engagement is going. Since this is a new position, I would really appreciate an annual report to the board from this particular position.
Yes, you can
Okay.
count on that for
Thank you.
sure. End of year report
That would be great.
mid-year report and an end of year report seems like that would be appropriate.
I think it is, if we're, just especially since it's new, and
exactly.
while we support it, we want to make sure that we're supporting it correctly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep,
So that'd
I
be
agree.
great.
Thank you.
Anything else, trustees? If not, is there a motion to approve the position and funding plan for a director, community liaison, and community engagement as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Thank you. 9B, review and consider approval of a revised 2024-25 salary schedule for Director of the Community Liaison and Community Engagement, Classified Management, 198 days. Dr. Vang again, please.
Thank you. And we've looked at this salary. The salary, as you can see, it is aligned with the food service director with the same number of days, the car allowance, which we've discussed, and the starting pay at step 1 at $93,980 for next school year, effective July 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comments received? No? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the revised 2024-25 salary schedule for classified management as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Item 10 is adjournment. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned at 7:50 p.m. Thank you, everybody.